So this is the 6-board chest that I just made. I use no power tools. The hinges are leather because I initially wanted to use metal hinges like this one here. But the nails for it were large enough that even with pre-drilling, the force required to get them through the holes in the hinge itself was causing the pine to crack out, and I was not having a good day with that. So I decided to use cut tacks, which are these things, available at Lowe's in the hardware section, as my nails. I also bought from an online company, give me a second, these nails, these things here. And as you can see, it looks pretty much identical to the cut tack I just showed, except it's about 3 times bigger. Yeah, it's like daddy and baby there. But you can see that they're very, very similar. Now, historically, this is what most nails would have looked like. They would have been cut from a sheet of stock would have been forged out, and then a series of square parts would have been cut from it, and the heads just forged over in a nail heading tool. That would have been the easiest way. Another way is to forge down round stock and into a square section, put it in the nail heading tool, and Bob's your uncle. Modern nails, like these masonry nails here, this guy, are made from an entirely different method. So you can see round shank. It's a masonry nail, which basically just means that it's got it's made out of a higher carbon hardened steel. That's all it really means. Most nails are mild steel just because it's more economical. But you can see it's got a round shank, and this one has a deliberately octagonal head, although a lot of them have round heads. That's not what nails would have looked like historically, mainly because it would have been almost impossible with the technology they had at the time. Modern nails are made by taking a piece of wire, clipping it to length, and then heading it. So drawing wire is just not something you would have done to make nails when there were faster ways to do it available. Nowadays, it's very economical because we have machines that can draw out long bits of wire, 200 feet long, in 5 minutes. But back then, what you would have had to do is forge down your stock from whatever it started as. You would have forged it down from an ingot to a bar that would usually be, I'd say, probably around, you could probably get away with forging it down to a 1/2 inch diameter. And then, it would be really rough and nasty and not at all smooth around. And then you would heat it up and pull it through a series of holes in what's called a draw plate. And a draw plate, give me a second. Hold on. So a draw plate is a metal plate. It would have been shaped a bit like this. So a rectangular metal plate. The bottom end would have been set into a stump just to hold it up. And then it has a series of holes, starting with a large one and getting smaller and smaller, etc. So on, all the way down. So you might start at a 1/2 inch and work your way down to a 1/16 or an 1/18 or a 32nd of an inch. And then you would take your glowing metal bar, hot from the forge, this metal bar, you'd take it and pass it through one hole, and then heat it back up, pass it through the next one, heat it back up, through the next one, heat it back up, through the next one, so on and so on and so on. And this would take hours and hours and hours to get yourself to a point of having wire. It's not like the modern day where it could just be spooled off of a machine. So instead, to make a nail, you'd either take this round stock and forge it into a square cross section with a point, stick it in a nail heading tool, which looks about like that, with a depression in the center and a square hole. That would go on the anvil. You'd stick that in there and hammer off the head of the nail, which gets you an appearance much like this. Or you would take a piece of square or a flat stock, which would be you'd take it and forge it down into a flat bar, and then you would cut a series of triangles out of it. And then you'd go to the nail header and use that. So that's how nails were made historically. But back to my handmade 6-board chest. I made this entirely with hand tools. There was not a single power tool used in the construction, although obviously I had to buy the wood from Lowe's. So this is not, I didn't go out and fell a tree or anything like that. It's pre-planed, pre-processed wood. You can see here, I used masonry nails for most of the nails here, and this was the first side I nailed up, so you can see I've got an absolute ton of nails here. But then you go over to this side, and I've got 9 going down, and then 9 across, and on the front, the hopefully pretty side, eventually, I've got on both sides 9 down and 9 across. So I kind of had to figure out what I was doing. I'm probably going to seal this with linseed oil. Since this is the first 6-board chest I've ever made, I'm not going to worry too much about getting the hinges right or anything like that. I need this for my next event, so I'm just going to use it as is. And then when I come back from the event, I'm going to buy another board and get to work cutting things down, and again, working entirely by hand. You can see I'm using this one to hold my clothing. That's my coat and hood and one of my hosen. So here's the other one, and I gotta pack it up again because I had it packed a while ago and I had to unpack it to redo the lid. But you can see it's not perfect. I've got gaps and stuff that I didn't know how to deal with at the time. So, it's going to be a process to get to where I'm good at making these, but hopefully it won't take me too much time before I can make these on a regular basis. So now I've packed up all my reenactment kit, or all my civilian kit really, except for my cloak. And what you're seeing here is my entire chainmail kit on top of my 6-board chest. So you can see a piece of chainmail. I didn't make this. This is just an offcut from some Indian mail. But forgot something. Here we go. So I've got I've got 2 anvils here. This is a Daygrad anvil that I have yet to mount to a stump, so I can't use it yet. This is a mini anvil from Tandy Leather. These are my riveting pliers, and let's see. Can the camera pick up on it? Yep, you can see they've got that dimple in the top jaw to form over the rivet head. I've got my 4-pound hammer, which was a real find at a hardware store. And here we have my Whitney punch. I know, horribly anachronistic, but it gives me the best results. So you can see here I've replaced the punch end with a drift. And it's slightly blunted, but sharp enough that it mashes the metal aside rather than punches out a slug. Here's my hand-forged coiling rod, and it has a little hole here. And if you're wondering what that's for, that's so I can stick a bit of wire through it. So this is the wire I use, and then coil it. And I forged this by hand. Well, not entirely. It started as 5/16 round rod, and so the part that I actually coil still is. But I forged this little decorative bit. I forged this over, and I forged a spiral in here. Flattened this so I could drill it. That's my entire chainmail kit, aside from my cutters, which I'm still working on getting a new pair of. This is a knife I made recently for a customer under my company name of Dragon's Forge Armory. I'm still working on getting that business up and running properly, but hopefully in the near future there are going to be exciting things coming. I've got another knife ordered. So, looking at the knife, you can see this decorative jimping in the back. The handle is actually epoxied on, and it seems to be surprisingly sturdy. 2000 grit polish on the blade. I haven't sharpened it yet. I'm actually going to leave the sharpening to my dad because I'm not good at it, and he can get things really scary sharp. So anyways, that kind of does it for my for what goes in and with this 6-bore chest. Talk to you later. Bye.